Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls. Welcome to your weekly video game podcast, War Never Changes. This is season 2, episode number 3. My name is Jim, joined as always by 50 caliber himself, Phil McCracken. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about you?
I'm doing okay.
War. War never changes.
I was a little bummed out. Honestly, I was a little bummed out because I want to start eating out and I can't because obviously of COVID. As most of my joys and sorrows in life are about video games or food. So I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little sad, but I'm okay. I had a frozen pizza for dinner, so I'm doing better. Got my video game shirt on, talking to you about video games. So I think I'm gonna be okay.
I've got a nerd cheese pizza on the way.
Ooh, what'd you get? The breakfast one again? You don't like the buffalo chicken one, do you?
Never had it. I just love breakfast pizza, and nowhere near my house makes a good one that you can get at night.
Okay, I
So
understand. So it's just based on you really owe it to yourself to try the buffalo chicken at some point. They might not be exciting for you because you guys have better meat quality up there than down here in the dirty South, but I used to really look forward to that, and that's what got me through many a design review was thinking about nerd cheese pizza.
I just don't take wing advice from Floridians.
No, don't. Yeah, I mean, there's some good wing places down here for sure, but just the pizza up there is so much better. That's just the way it is, and I understand it. So there's a couple things I want to talk about today. It was kind of a slow news week, but I dug through the trenches in the last 20 or so minutes on my phone, and I was able to find some things to talk about, which hopefully will spur some good discussion. But if your food gets here early and we have to cut it short, I think we'll be okay.
I scheduled it not to be delivered till 7:30.
Ooh, wow. Okay, we have to go the whole hour then.
Well, I figured I'd give us
I'm
the
just kidding.
bro. This like list of things is put together with duct tape. Okay, this show was an afterthought this week.
Well, I wanted to, my plan was to sit down yesterday, as we used to do, and really send notes back and forth for even a while there, if you recall. Well, maybe the viewer at home doesn't recall. I recall. For a brief moment there, Phil, you were actually putting together the entire show notes. You had topics, you had discussion points, you put in your answer, I put in my answer. Now, what happened? Now we're here.
They fired some of our managers, and my workload increased by 80%.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to lose my job, and this ain't my job, so I got to do my job. And then if I have time, we'll talk about video games.
No, in the beginning I was good, and then it went a long time where it was just you doing it, and then I did it for a few more
It was
weeks, and
great.
you
It
were
was great.
you were like, I can take some time off. I don't have to worry about this, and then I stopped doing it again.
And I stopped doing it as well. Here we are. So,
It's okay. We fill the first 10 minutes of the show talking about how this show's going to be a piece of shit.
it's called managing expectations. I want to start off this week with what I am calling the power of PC gaming in the modding community. Both pieces of Skyrim news near and dear to my heart because I will be able to enjoy these features. You'll be able to enjoy one of them. The first being that somebody has successfully found a way to mod the PlayStation 5 version of Skyrim to run at 60 frames a second.
The PS4 version?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Running it on the PS5, but yes, the PS4 disc. You're correct. The PS4 version, which I think they called the Legendary Edition, the one that included all the DLC, the 4K texture, up-res, everything. It was locked at 30 forever. When it came over to next gen Xbox, probably because Bethesda is Xbox now, They were able to figure out how to get it running at 60 frames a second almost instantly on the Xbox Series X. No such luck on the PlayStation console. So we left it up to the hands of the modding community, and some dude figured out two really cool things. One, how to get it done. Two, how to mod it and still leave trophies enabled, because as you may know, when you mod any game on Skyrim, it puts a big disclaimer across the top: trophies have been disabled.
That, to me, is really cool, and I hope Bethesda reaches out to this guy and offers him a job.
I don't know if... Do you think that really, like, Bethesda didn't know how to do this? Do you think that they were like, man, this Xbox architecture is so easy to work with, and PlayStation, we just don't know? Or do you think it was one of those things where Big Daddy Phil Spencer calls in Todd Howard, he's like, come here, sit down, listen. You're going to get us 60 frames a second, but not for those guys. And he's like, yes, sir. And he, like, scurried off into his dungeon.
Jeez, I don't think Bethesda. Well, actually, never mind. It doesn't matter because Bethesda is Microsoft. Now.
Do you think Todd Howard has actually met Phil Spencer face to face? Because this acquisition occurred during COVID.
Absolutely yes, dude. Absolutely yes.
Do you think Phil's like, he's in like a penthouse like me and he doesn't want to be bothered? He's like, no. You could talk outside the window, Todd.
No, I feel like Phil Spencer, the CEO of Xbox, is probably much more of a man than you. This kid doesn't even go out and get his mail.
I don't. I don't even leave the office, actually. I got my poop sock and my jug in the corner. All right, so that was the first. Okay, so I honestly believe Bethesda had the capability to do this. They chose not to. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that they're not going to be I still maintain they're not going to be releasing upcoming games outside of the exclusive deals they already had with Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop on PlayStation. I don't think outside of this, I don't think you're going to see any games come to PlayStation. And I think this was the first of many things that they're doing to really build up their own brand. And thankfully, some modder figured out how to bring the secret sauce to the PlayStation Nation, and I'm grateful for it.
Maybe Bethesda will be reaching out, but instead of a job offer, it'll be a cease and desist letter.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so, so the modding community as a whole, and I know you really don't dabble much in PC gaming, but that's one of the major draws of PC gaming is modding, particularly in the fact that once you beat a game, modding really adds more life to it. And there's been a lot of very famous mods. I think probably the most successful being Counter-Strike, where you could see where a mod has actually been incorporated into the main game. A lot of genres, even MOBAs, massive online battle arena games like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, were mods of other games that slowly became their own genre. So I think modding is definitely awesome and it's cool. We don't really see it much on the console side, unfortunately, because it usually requires downloading some sort of executable, changing configuration files, loading assets, whatever. So the fact that Bethesda even opened this up with Skyrim was awesome. The fact that you can actually mod your console is phenomenally cool. And the fact that Skyrim, a game that when Skyrim came out, like 2005 or something?
Yeah, 2011.
Okay.
11.
Forever ago. The fact that really a 60 frame per second experience, the way I experienced it on my PC, it radically changes the game. And I know you've played it probably more than any human being known to man has played, because you've beaten Skyrim like 65,000 times. You know the names of the NPCs, the quests. You're quoting Parthenax. Like you are Mr. Skyrim. I'll be really curious when you get back to the house and you get to fire up your console and you try it. I'll be really curious to see if it does anything for you, or if it's just you've played it so much that it's the way you envisioned it in your head, if that makes sense.
Bro, I played it on the Switch.
Which was probably 16 frames a second. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit better.
No, 16. 1-6.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe 16 frames a minute. I'll be yeah, there's just something smooth about a 60 frame per second experience. And I mean, we play a lot of Warzone together. You just see it. It's just, I know that a long time ago, and maybe you still feel this way. You've told me before that frame rate doesn't matter as much to you. I'll be really curious with a game that means as much to you as Skyrim. You're gonna have to report back next week and tell me if it really did change your experience, really, or if you're like, oh, whatever. Like, I really think this is gonna redefine the way you look at that game. I think it's that. I think it's that cool looking.
The new build that I just started on my PS5 for Skyrim a few weeks ago, I've already downloaded. I mean, this is going to be my first time ever playing using mods. This is my first non-vanilla playthrough ever.
Okay.
And I downloaded all of them.
I was
All
gonna
the
say which
mods.
ones did you do, but I mean, I know there's one that fixes like minor bugs. There's one that increases like minor texture quality, draw distance, that sort of thing. Um, there's probably weapon mods too. I don't know if
Yep.
like they change your
All of it.
skins and everything. Okay,
All of it. I've got all of it, and I'm rich, and I'm invincible, and it doesn't ultimately matter. I'm just wondering if this mod will interact with all those other mods that I have, because then I'll have to start a brand new profile.
gotcha. Yeah, as far as I can tell, the way that this mod works, and obviously not seeing the coding portion of it, you actually load the mod and install it, and then you delete it. But you leave the game open, and that's what bypasses that trigger to get trophies. If you're playing with mods, you don't care then. But for people who are really into trophies, modding is one thing that's a little hard to kind of figure out sometimes. But yeah, you can still. I tried it. I went to a place where I know I can get an easy trophy, and I got it. And I was like, wow, I'm getting it at 60 frames a second, and it works. And um, yeah, I'll be curious. You have to let me know. Out of curiosity, though, with what you've been playing, do you? I know a lot of mods typically are convenience, like giving all the vendors more money to sell items or allowing you to fast travel while over encumbered, things like that. That are just you can find ways around them, but this is just an easier way to do it. Is there any mods that you've gotten now that are like, wow, like this really makes the game a lot better, or are you just so in love with it you really don't care?
Nothing that's made the game better, just stuff that makes the game easier.
Gotcha.
Like I'm pretty sure there's like a God mode that I downloaded, and I am OP AF. I don't need a weapon, but I use one. My punch, my my,
You're just black. You're just
my
one punching dudes into like next year.
no, my unarmed punch will one shot a dragon, and I've verified it.
Get down here, you. Woo. Okay. So yeah, that's really I got to give credit to Bethesda, as I say. Bethesda is like my favorite studio ever. Them allowing mods on a console is giving people like you who don't play PC games just a taste into how cool the modding community is and how much more life it gives games that should largely be forgotten but are still fun and new because you're finding goofy things to do with them. So that's really cool. The other piece of Skyrim news, actually still pertaining to modding, is that a modder has now completed a mod for Skyrim VR, which he calls HIGGS, which stands for Hand Interaction and Gravity Gloves for Skyrim. Right now in Skyrim VR, when you play, your hands clip through the world. So in other words, if you are walking up to like a table or a vendor and you stick your hands out, you see your character's hands, obviously. They don't interact with anything. One of the charms of virtual reality is that in most virtual reality simulations, the world around you is modded. So if you walked up to a table and like batted your hand, you would knock everything off the table. Now you could still individually pick up things just like you can in regular Skyrim. Like you could pick up an individual plate one at a time and drop it, and you could still drag and shout into the table and like blow everything away. But you can never use your hands, and that's what this mod does. It actually makes your hands part of the world. So you can pull your sword out and like knock people over and like be a madman and like push things, prod things over. It makes the simulation significantly more interactive.
That's There's two platforms I've never played Skyrim on. I don't have a gaming PC. I've also
Yet,
never played Skyrim VR.
right? Well, you could solve both of those. You could get a gaming PC get Skyrim on it, and then have Skyrim VR on it. One console, two games. Join us, and you get an ultra wide monitor. Did I tell you I have an ultra wide monitor? Because I do, and it's great.
I just bought this MacBook.
I don't. I mean, that's cute. It's nice. It's fun. I know you were at a moment of desperation. I don't know what you were doing. No, I'm just kidding. I know you didn't buy that to play games with. You bought it to type letters. I don't know. I don't know what you do in a MacBook. Sync your iCloud or something. Whatever.
Says the guy that had a MacBook for years. Fuck you, Jim.
I did very basic video editing. That was my taste into YouTube. The very beginning YouTube was on my iMac or MacBook. I don't think it was a Pro though. I think it just had the basic bitch one. But anyways, yeah, this is a big deal, really, and it's cool that there are fans that care about this much who have knowledge to do this, that can actually pull this crap off. A lot of people, myself included, felt that the Skyrim virtual reality port was very basic. There was a lot of features and comforts that more virtual reality games have. Definitely, this is one of them. Where the Skyrim was just kind of a throwaway, and I'm glad that people are going back and like fixing it, because I think if you did experience it this way, this is the way you should experience virtual reality.
I don't think Todd Howard and Phil Spencer would do a shitty port just to charge full price for a game. I don't think they'd do that, Jim.
I mean, Skyrim. I mean, like Skyrim runs on everything, and I remember there's a really famous quote by Todd Howard where he was interviewed, and somebody's like, "When are you gonna just make Elder Scrolls 6?" And he said, "Whenever you guys stop buying Elder Scrolls 5." Because the truth is, every port they make, people buy. You play it on your damn Alexa, your smart fridge, your cell phone. I play Blades all the time, which is basically a port of Skyrim. Obviously, PlayStations, the old consoles, newer consoles. We're 3 generations deep now, still playing Skyrim. And finding new ways to play it with this virtual reality mod or 60 frames a second. These are big deals. I mean, this is taking something old and making it new. And the best part is Bethesda doesn't have to do anything. They're just sitting back like, oh, more people are going to buy our game because you can play it at 60 frames a second. Okay. I mean, it's brilliantly lazy is what it is, but good for them, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
I wonder if moving forward, every time Xbox gets a Bethesda feature that PlayStation gets, if mysteriously that feature gets added on by some sort of a modder or something a few months.
Yeah, there's like a deep throat inside Xbox who's secretly leaking the code to like PlayStation. She's like, hey guys, here's the 60 frames a second code. I mean, the truth is, like, with the power of the modding community and fans, like, there are no limitations. I'm sure you've seen people mod all the dragons into like Thomas the Tank Engine. You can replace your House Carl with the Master Chief. Like, I've done all these. They're funny, they're goofy. It makes the game more fun. You could get different armor sets. You could have Thor's hammer. You can do whatever you want. So I say good for them.
Yes, good for the peoples.
I say good for the mod community for making, like, the fact that Skyrim didn't run at 60 frames a second on PlayStation 5 is a joke. And I'm glad somebody fixed it. That's what I'm saying.
I'm glad someone fixed it too, so I can replay it again.
I started it, and I mean, you remember my journey. I did get a little bit into it. I did play all the DLC, which I really liked.
No, you did.
No, the one deal. I beat the whole one DLC. Dawnguard.
Yep.
Whatever. And then I turned into a wolf. And then I kind of burned out on it. But when I loaded it up today, I immediately remembered how to get into a wolf, and I cleared a cave. I didn't loot anything. I wasn't there to loot. I was there to feed. One hit. And for some reason, I don't know what quest I was on because I just quit. Valkus, the guy from the companions, he was with me. And it was a little hallway and we were trying to get through and there's like a bad guy at the top and then he was in the middle and I just kept swinging. I took him out. He doesn't die. He just like kneels down like, "Ugh." Like, get out of the way, dude. I only got like 30 seconds. I need to feed. I need to get this wolf meter going. So I knocked his ass out. I knocked the other dude out. I ate the other dude and then I just ran through the dungeon like a madman. I didn't loot anything and it was beautiful 60 frame a second crystal clear goodness. So here's to you, Varkas or Valkus, whatever.
Ilkus.
Whatever. Good. He wears way too much eyeshadow. There's something weird going on there. Like no man should be wearing that much eyeshadow.
Dude,
Don't dude me.
you look like a lost Amish person.
A
Shut
lost Amish. I lost my hat.
Dude, Rumspringa never ended for you.
Well, whatever. Moving on. This was interesting, and I know you didn't play Last of Us, which I think is a shame. You didn't play either of them, did you? You didn't play Last of Us 1 or Part 2?
I played the first mission of the first one, and it was sad. It made me sad, so I stopped.
It's incredibly deep of a game. A lot of people have criticized the second one in particular. Creep. God. I have to look. So my camera's right here. So I'm seeing both of us in my periphery. So I'm trying to look at the camera and I see you over there like. There we go. What I was going to say was that a lot of people criticized the second one. I'm not going to spoil why, but I mean, not the specifics, but a lot of people felt that the character, Neil Druckman in particular, who's pretty much owns Naughty Dog at this point, he's like their senior executive, was really trying to push a very specific narrative that didn't necessarily fit with the characters. And a lot of people felt that he kind of ruined the essence of certain characters. I feel that way as well, personally. I don't think we'll ever get a Last of Us 3. I think they really tanked that game. Even though it's a critical darling and it won so many Game of the Years, it's a very divisive thing between fans and critics on that particular game. A lot of people did not like it. I did not like it.
Well, we know that critics won't do pay to play.
Of course not. Sponsored by Cyberpunk's Racing Chair. Yeah. So Neil Druckmann came out the other day and said that he would like to do a port of The Punisher or a Half-Life sequel. And that sent NeoGAF, which is where I found this particular article, into a tizzy because a lot of people immediately called out how poorly, in their opinions, The Last of Us 2 was actually, you know, the gameplay was great, but like the narrative, the core idea, the identity of the characters radically bastardized from the first one. And a lot of people are like, please don't ruin the Punisher. Please don't ruin Gordon Freeman. Like, leave our stuff alone. And I thought it was interesting only because, you know, the little bit you did play, and for me, you know, playing both of them, Naughty Dog does a really good job of pushing hardware to its limits, and they do a really good job with gritty, dark, hopeless worlds. And I don't necessarily see Half-Life in that category, but I definitely see a Punisher game. I could totally see a person down on their like wits end. I think Naughty Dog could make a cool world for that.
Weren't they thinking about doing a Ghost Rider?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think there was like a list of games that he had mentioned. I don't know, like, I don't know where this even came up. I don't know if it was some interview or just he was on Twitter just yapping. I'm not really sure where this came from. But it made me think of just in general, like, you know, I love Mario. I love Shigeru Miyamoto. I think he is like a gem in the industry, as a lot of people do. I mean, he single-handedly created Donkey Kong and Zelda and Mario. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. I would not want to see him make a Half-Life game. I just don't think he would understand what makes that universe tick. It's a me, Gordon. Like, I just don't see it.
Half-Life with mushrooms?
Yeah, right?
What are all these green pipes?
I just don't see that colliding in just the same way. Like when I think of Naughty Dog, they make phenomenal games, but they're on another planet from everybody else, technically. I just can't see them taking a franchise. Similarly, like with Machine Gun Games. Machine Gun Games just announced last week that they're going to be making an Indiana Jones game. And I'm like, okay, you're telling me the guys that made Wolfenstein are now going to make an Indiana Jones game? Like, that doesn't mesh. Those two genres make no sense. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but,
Well,
right?
Indiana, they so they have, like with Ubisoft and the Phoenix Rising, and then also Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They had that team
Right.
working they had the one team working as a consultant with the other team that was making Phoenix, because they had done all that, like architect, like the deep dives into Greek culture, Greek history, all that stuff. So you think that, I don't know. Do you see kind of the connection I'm making there? Because Indiana Jones took place supposedly during the time when Nazis were prevalent. So, and Nazis were a major fixture in
You
Wolfenstein.
think that was their
So
sales pitch? We know Nazis.
we know Nazis. We know that time period. We know their
You know what? I
interactions and
never
their.
thought of that. Okay.
I mean, all the period weapons would be the same as Wolfenstein. So they have all the basic architecture ready to go to make a game.
Okay.
They just have to figure out a story now and up-res it. That's all.
Hmm.
They've got all the character models, they've got all the clothes, they've got all the cars, they've got all
Right.
the guns, they've got
The
everything they need.
environment's done is what you're saying. They're just
Yes.
the fine tuning of the. Yeah, that makes sense. I never really thought of it that way. I mean, I guess. I mean, the reality is obviously anybody can make anything. You look at Guerrilla Games working on, Killzone, and then jumping over to Horizon Zero Dawn, a game about a girl hunting robotic dinosaurs. Like nothing to do with a first-person shooter at all. So it's possible. It's just when I think of companies like Naughty Dog, or honestly, really a lot of the Bethesda games, which are for the most part very violent first-person shooters, or at least very heavy first-person involvement. Some of these franchises just don't seem like they fit. I just don't see. I don't see a first-person Indiana Jones games working. Doesn't mean they can't program third-person games, but that's not my go-to. Bethesda wouldn't be my go-to for a third-person adventure.
Okay, I got it, and I respect that opinion, and I could say I probably share that opinion. But I mean, it kind of it's not like Bethesda or like one of the bigger studios like Arcane got the opportunity to make this game. They passed it off to, um, whatever, Sledgehammer or whatever you were saying. Machine Gun.
Machine Gun Games.
Machine
Yeah,
Gun.
they're the
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, they're like a subsidiary of Bethesda. I don't know. Like they're all Bethesda, but they're like subsets, or ZeniMax or whatever. Like they all work together. They're just different names, probably for tax reasons or something. But yeah, you just don't typically see them. I don't know. This Neil Druckman thing just made me really start thinking of like, I don't feel like a lot of these game companies making these games really have any business. Like, leave it to somebody else who understands it better. And especially with Naughty Dog, very, very politicized game company, really trying to send a message, really made a big deal out of the fact that the main character was a female, made a really big deal out of the fact that they had minorities and they had transgender people. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But like, that's not the flagpole of your game. Make a game. If you want to include those elements, that's fine. But it's almost like, hey, let's find the top 5 buzz things. Let's make those things important, and then let's build a game around it. And I worry when I see this kind of stuff. I worry. I'm like, okay, like if somehow he convinces them to make one of these games, I'm like, it is not going to be what you want it to be. Just in the same
Yeah.
way, I think this Indiana Jones game, people are getting all their hopes and dreams up. Like, I'm going to go out on the record now. I think this game's going to suck. I don't even know what it is. I think it's going to suck.
Okay.
Mark my words, Phil. If we're still doing the show in 30 years when the game finally comes out, like, there you go. Proof. The 29-minute mark. Jim called it. He was right.
Oh, you're so funny.
Next question for you. Moving on. Another comment I saw on NeoGAF made me thinking, and the title of the thread was, "When will the real console launch happen?" It was generic. It could be about Xbox or PlayStation 5. And we are now a couple months removed in having these things in our hot little hands. And let me ask you this first. In the last month, what are you playing most on your PlayStation 5?
A PlayStation 4 game.
So, yeah, so as a lot of people are. I think I think maybe the gist or the point of this. Like, there are a lot of good games. We just got done talking about you playing Skyrim, which really is a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 game, up-resed, not once, but twice. Now with 60 frames on top of all of it. You're looking forward to that. Like, not hearing you talk about Call of Duty, not hearing you talk about Phoenix. Well, you just mentioned it, but not playing it. Watch Dogs Legion, Demon Souls. So I think it's a valid question. I think a lot of people are like, okay, that was fun. We got a little dabble. We dabbled in Spider-Man for a few minutes, but at the end of the day, we went back to stuff that are old faithful.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like my mind is kind of opening to Phoenix, Immortal, whatever.
What the hell it is?
Immortals, Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, God and Monsters was such a better name. Like, I don't know why they couldn't have just left it alone.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm reading reviews and watching like YouTube videos about it, and I'm slowly opening up my mind to it.
Yeah.
But I just know that Watch Dogs Legion is a hot piece of potato garbage.
I still haven't touched it. I have it still in the original wrapping upstairs. I have not even opened it out of the package.
And I need to finish beating Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But you've been playing it since the day it came out, and you just beat it, which makes it so much more of a daunting and unappealing prospect.
In my defense, with Assassin's Creed, we did everything. And I mean everything. I mean every little piece of wealth, every little mystery, every little artifact in every single zone.
Yeah,
and we were very rich for it. We got some really cool side stories. We got some really cool companions that joined us on our adventure. But I suspect most people won't be as rigorous in the completion as we were.
Rigorous completionist.
Jesus. So yeah, I mean, that's really like I think Assassin's Creed is great. I don't think it's a next gen game. I mean, obviously it runs. The disc I have actually is a PlayStation 4 disc. It's up-resed, great. You get to 60 frames is nice, but it's not really pushing. I haven't really seen anything. I shouldn't say that. I think Demon Souls is probably the closest next gen title I've played. I haven't yet played Spider-Man Miles Morales, so I could be wrong, but I feel like the lighting effects, the way the DualSense controller works, the way the 3D audio all comes together. To me, Demon Souls is the most next-gen game we have right now.
And isn't that the remake of a different game?
It's a remake of a PlayStation 3 launch title. Yeah, it's almost frame for frame a remake of the same game, but rebuilt, not remastered in the same way that like Skyrim's like we're just going to put a new coat of paint on it. Remade as in like we're going to wipe everything and build it up. But yes, at the end of the day, you're right. It's still borrowing on old stuff, which it really begs the question. Everybody was clawing, and I was too, fighting to get one of these consoles. So happy to get one, so great. And what are we doing? We're playing old stuff. We're playing Division 2. We're playing Call of Duty Warzone. You're playing Skyrim. I'm playing, Nuclear Throne.
Do you know why?
Because there's no new game.
These are the three launch titles. A PS4 game that was up-resed to PS5 in Assassin's Creed, a PS3 remake, and DLC for a PS4 game. Because I don't care what you say, like Spider-Man Miles Morales was a fantastic game. I loved it. I loved every freaking second of that game.
All 10 minutes.
It's a DLC. It's just a DLC for Spider-Man for PS4. That's all it is. And those were your three major launch titles, and then like Call of Duty. Oh, look, a game where you run around and shoot people.
Yeah. My fave.
But in the 80s.
With cool soundtracks that are way too loud when you're trying to load into a game. So that begs the question then, what do we need to see? Is the real console launch happen when a game like Deathloop comes out where it's a next-gen title, built for next-gen, no backward compatibility? Is it when we get Elder Scrolls 6? Is that when next generation really begins? Like, what do you think?
Star- Starfield.
Starfield? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I like that you like all three titles you mentioned were Bethesda. I like that. It really goes with the theme of the show. Um, but
Because Deathloop's
the,
coming out sooner
you
than later.
mentioned
That's why.
Deathloop. The fact that you mentioned Deathloop first is
Dude,
laughable.
I don't know what you don't like in Deathloop. It's going to be so good. You really need to go play Prey. You really need to give Dishonored another chance. Those games are masterclass.
Jim, we're trying to find new games to play. Why are you sending me back to
Because you're
360
not.
games?
Because you're. I need to get you out of the Skyrim kick. There's better stuff out there. You can fight
Dude,
aliens.
I was so sure you were just gonna get mad and say, "'Cause you're
Because you're
trash."
trash. I was thinking it, but I wanted to actually try to give a logical answer. So, in your opinion, Starfield will be the gatekeeper to next gen.
No, it's just a much
I
better
understand.
example than fucking Deathloop.
Let me ask you this: do you think that if Halo eventually can get out of its own way, do you think there could be a bizarro alternate universe where Halo comes out this year, which I don't think is going to happen, but okay, let's say it does. Halo comes out, and that is finally the first next gen game. Where all this time everybody's been crapping on Microsoft, and all along they've been chipping away at this thing, and they're actually the ones to kind of like come out with the new experience first. You think that's a possibility?
As long as they don't CDPR it, anything is possible.
I mean, yeah, honestly, CD Projekt Red, and I didn't really mention it because I'm having a good time with it. I know I'm in the extreme minority. There are now 2 lawsuits ongoing against Cyberpunk 2077. That game is in a lot of trouble. That stock has dropped. It's that I do not see that company surviving. I suspect that company is going to fold. I don't see them coming back from this. I think that could have been the usher to the next generation, but obviously they couldn't figure it out. They just didn't. I mean, on PC it runs great, but I get it. Minority of players here. Um, I'd be really curious to see how that game unfolds. But yeah, that could have been the first next gen game. But as of right now, I would really struggle to, like you said. I mean, is there anything out there that's just mind blowing, pushing the console to the limits? And no, there's really
I
not.
don't. I don't understand because it's not like these developers didn't get a heads up like, hey, here's our new system architecture, here's our new
Right?
like make a game to these specs and like have it ready to go by this date. It's not like these developers didn't know. It's not like these are, there's high-end gaming PCs out there like you that can really, really take some abuse. It's not like these consoles are like this enigma. Like, how do we figure out how to make a game for this console and make it run well on this platform with this power? I don't, I feel like something weird happened. Like, these consoles weren't supposed to come out till this year, but they realized that everyone's at home and these things were going to sell like
Right.
hotcakes and holy shit, get them out there now. I don't know what happened, but it's confusing to me that they launched these major consoles with like this trash selection of games. And I remember you and I were like, why is everyone so mad about backwards compatibility? Well, thank God someone said something and like verified that these people were working on this
Right.
because little did we know, hey, everything that's coming out is going to be trash or a remake or a DLC.
Yeah, no, you're right. When consoles launch in general, the launch window has always been weak. I really think Ratchet and Clank, which is a game that has really fallen off the radar, I really thought that that would be a fun portal into next gen platforming to kind of show you what to expect. Mario has kind of always been the gatekeeper of that. You saw how good Mario 64 was, Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey. We haven't really seen anything new in a while, and I was like, okay, the way that Ratchet and Clank is using the solid state drive and how you're pulling and ripping apart realities, like that looks fun. But they missed the launch window by so long now. Like I still don't see that game on the radar anytime soon. Yeah, I don't really see anything coming up. I mean, they're always working on things, but As of right now, other than Call of Duty and I guess playing a couple of the older games at 60 frames a second, I would say to people who don't have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox S X, you're not missing
Dude,
much. Really, you're not.
dude, thank you, Treyarch. Thank you. Thank you for having your shit together. I know it was a basic game to make. You had all the vegetables ready to go in the stew. I get it, but thank you for having your shit together and giving us a fun game and like hours of entertainment at launch. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing that. Thank you for having your shit. I guess like Call of Duty is just this like outlier. Like, yeah, every year they shit out something new and that's great, but like they're the only ones that had their shit
You
together
are
and ready
right,
to go.
yeah. I mean, truth be told, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War definitely still has some major performance issues.
Whoa, whoa,
The
whoa.
lack of dedicated servers, shitty HDR implementation, etc. But the single player was fun. I really did enjoy it. And you are right. I mean, when you look at it, who showed up and it was COD. It was.
Dude, MP5 go
It
brrr.
was.
And then they nerfed
They
it.
nerfed it. Another game company that we haven't talked about, which has been teasing for a long time, their successor is Nintendo.
Mm.
And supposedly the Switch 2, aka the Switch Pro, aka the Switch 2021, I've heard all three names, is very real. And it's supposed to be a significant performance upgrade from the previous version, with the caveat it will not be portable anymore. It will be a docked, just like your Xbox or your PlayStation, will require a television, will have a dedicated control, all that kind of stuff. Are you okay with that? Or is the gimmick of Switch the fact that it is portable, you're okay? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Switch was great and it was portable, and I took it with me when there were fucking games that came out for it. I don't know, dude. I honestly don't care if it's not portable, but they are not going to make any games for it, so it doesn't matter. They're going to like we're all going to go buy this $300 console with the computer. It'll have the computing power of like an Xbox 360 Elite, maybe if you're lucky, because all it has to do is make a short Italian plumber jump through pipes. It's all it really has to do. So, like, have fun paying for this 15-year-old technology wrapped up in a pretty box that says
Woo!
Nintendo across it.
What is with Nintendo's uncanny? I just did a video on this not too long ago because I dug up my old 3DS and I'm playing a Bravely Default on there, an old RPG. What is with Nintendo's uncanny ability to make new hardware and then totally forget about it, and still yet do this to us now for going on 20 years, with really dating back to the GameCube? You could, if you want to include Virtual Boy, which I understand was a prototype, really a mistake. The Super Scope 6, if you want to go back even farther than that. What's with Nintendo's ability to release consoles, put like 5 games out for it, and then do nothing for 3 years, and then release a new console, and we will be shanking each other to beat the front line? Like, what spell have they put us under?
I don't know. It's kind of like it's it's kind of like like anything with like a subscription service. Like, here's the thing, but you can't really use it without the service. They're selling consoles to sell games.
Yeah.
That's all. They sell a console to sell games, and they make all their games. I mean,
Right.
like Capcom might get the odd game in there or something, but Nintendo makes Nintendo games, and Nintendo makes Nintendo consoles. So I feel like they're a huge giant tire company that's going to start making cars so they can sell more fucking tires, and they're going to give you 4 tires, and when it's time, when it's time for new tires, you're buying a new car.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's insane. Like, looking back at my collection of Switch games and how many I still actively play, and it's incredibly low. I am just floored by the fact that, like, I was reading about the Switch 2 and reading the technical specifications, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. I need that. And I'm like, don't, they did it to me again. Like, no, I don't need this,
Oh,
but I will still
stop.
get it.
Dude, yes, yes, it's going to go on sale. pre-order $299.99, and you and I are gonna probably both buy 5.
Do you think that the next iteration, because we know Switch would be like a PlayStation Pro or an Xbox Series, Xbox One X rather, kind of like a mid-generation upgrade. The next Nintendo console that comes out, whenever it is, probably not till like 2023, let's say. Do you want it to be portable, or was that a fun experiment and you're ready to go back to like a real console?
I'm ready to go back to a real Nintendo console.
I am too. I think the gimmick is fun sometimes. I very rarely play my Switch in undocked mode. Obviously not going anywhere, but pre this, when I was traveling a lot for work, I had a carrying case and I brought the Switch was a very easy console to take, but I still plugged it into the shitty hotel TV. I never was like, let me just lay in bed and play my Switch. I'm like, no, let me plug it in a TV and like act like a normal person.
Dude, the Switch wasn't even its own real, like, genuine console. The Switch was just the Wii U without the console. That's all it was. It was that controller, and they made that controller slightly more functional.
And they made like 2 games for it. Like, got them. We're gonna give you Zelda and Mario. And what else? That's all.
What else did they really make, honestly?
I think Splatoon 2 was fun, but I don't think it had a lot of content to it, so I burnt out on it quickly. The only other game that really comes to mind that I played, and I really think it was because of COVID, was Animal Crossing, just because it was something to do and pretend like life was happy and like it was a good escape.
Yeah.
But in a normal situation, do people actively play Animal Crossing? Probably not. And then there's some good indie games that came out on it, but nothing else. No, really. I can't think of any like game that was like, wow, like this took the world by storm. We have made it. And I don't, and that's always been their downfall, and it continues to be their downfall. I guess maybe you could argue Mario Kart, but I don't know. They're very samey after a while.
It's the Disney principle. So it's the Disney principle. So you play off the nostalgia that you like.
Yeah.
You have your genuine creativity at the beginning, which is the creation or genesis of these games, and this company, and you just play off people's emotions. And the evolution of this company has followed the growth of our generation. Well, your generation and maybe like the generation before you. So our generations have grown up with it, and we're following it through. And I don't know what they're going to do when the people who don't remember the beginning are dead.
Yeah. Well, by then they'll have to make a new game. So what you're saying is in 60 years we're going to get a new game? Last topic before we wrap up for today. Grand Theft Auto 6 will supposedly feature a female protagonist for the first time ever. Do you care?
Oh, cool. I guess they don't want to sell very many games.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So you and I have a radically different opinion on this. As you know, I love playing games as a female character. You do not. To the point that, like, I think I would say you're actively mad about it. You can make fun of me. It's fine. I wouldn't say you're actively mad about it, but I have a feeling if GTA 6 came out with a female character, I don't think you'd buy it.
No, I wouldn't. You know why?
Yeah, why?
I'm not interested as living vicariously through a woman. I'm a man. I want to play with a character I can relate to. I can't relate to a woman because I'm not a woman. And, Rockstar may not be aware of this because, I don't know, they haven't been out of their houses in a year, just like everyone else, but 95% of their player base is male. And I feel like these movies that are like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to go down.
Are you going to say something incredibly sexist? Is that where this is going?
No, I'm good with women being treated as equals. That's just like,
well, I'm glad you're good with that.
See, this is why I don't
What a
like talking
nice
about this,
guy.
'cause
You mean
I try to articulate myself, and all you do is make stupid jokes and paint me as something I'm not. I just I don't have anything more to say about it other than I'm not interested. I don't relate to the story of a woman because I'm a man. I prefer to play as a man. It feels weird for me to play a video game as a girl. I'm sure that there's literally millions of people who would disagree with me and be shouting if they watch this show, but they don't.
so? I remember when Battlefield 5 came out. I believe it was Battlefield 5. Or do they call it 1? They had a really weird naming convention. One of the more recent Battlefield games that came out featured a woman on the cover. And people were livid because it was what, at the time, Electronic Arts and DICE, who was making the game under Electronic Arts, they said this is going to be an alternate portrayal of World War One. We're going to go back to World War One, but we're going to tell it in a different. The technology will be different, but we want it to be like more of a primitive fight back then. You know, the weapons weren't as no drones or anything like that. But you know, they had different weapons. It was a weird game. It was a weird game. But the one decision I'll remember that really stuck out was they said our box art will be a female. We have a female on the cover. And the internet blew up over that. They hated this idea. And everybody became a history major. And, well, actually, women weren't in World War One. It was only men. And you know, whatever. And people were so mad, like, this game sold, like, almost no copies. Now, it was not a good game. So we'll never have good data. We'll never know for sure. The game was bad. It had a lot of problems. Just a lot of performance issues were with it. The balancing was off. It was not a great game. But people point back to the box art. And I remember during an interview with the developers, they said, well, we heard your feedback about not having a woman on the cover, and we just basically want to tell you, too bad. We're going to do it anyway. And their sales were horrible. Could have been the reviews, could have been that. Like I said, we'll never know. You know, games that give you a choice, I think most people tend to play as a guy. But like Ubisoft, for example, in Ubisoft's lore, the female protagonists are the canon characters. So in the Ubisoft world, when you get a little bit farther in Valhalla, you'll find out that Cassandra is actually the character. She is the main lore from Odyssey. It wasn't Alexios. And in this game, female Eivor is the real Eivor. They talk about her as a woman, not as a man. And I suspect in the future games it will relate to a woman as well. Doesn't really change a lot, but it's interesting that there wasn't as much reaction to that as there was to this, because a lot of people on the forums felt the same way you did, and I don't really care either way. But it is. I guess it's a more polarizing issue than I think a lot of people think it is.
I don't know. I guess with Cassandra and Alexios, it's one thing because, you know, Egypt had a matriarchal culture. You know, it was largely patriarchal, but having a female like Pharaoh wasn't unheard of. Like, it was a thing. Vikings did not follow women into battle. I have no problem with a strong female character whatsoever, but if it's not historically correct, and the idea that all these elite male warriors would follow a Viking queen into battle, like if you had 10 clans, maybe one of them would be forward thinking enough to allow that. There might be one woman respected among those 10 clans to do that. And it just wasn't like that. And that's through no fault of any woman that ever lived through that period. That's just how it was. So I kind of chuckle when I was just like, you want to push this narrative so hard that you're going to just try to rewrite history and like pretend that isn't a laughable concept. But I mean, in a modern day setting, like I assume Grand Theft Auto 6 will be, if they gave me the choice to play between a man and a woman, I think that would be super smart because I'd choose the man and I'd buy the game and I'd be excited to play it and blah, blah, blah. But like rewriting World War I so that you can have a female protagonist, You're literally rewriting history to push a narrative. And yeah, of course, that's going to piss people off. And that's against the grain of the entire foundation of the franchise of your game. So if you want to shoot yourself in the foot to drive a narrative or be politically correct, that's fine. But like, why don't we focus on like throwing money at like Aloy, who is a believable female character that I actually do want to play with, or like Samus? Why can't we do something fun with Samus? I don't know, but
We're
I don't
waiting.
know.
Listen, us Metroid Prime fans, we've been waiting for like 15 years. We're ready.
Yeah.
It's no fault of our own. We are ready and patiently waiting for Metroid Prime 4. Very
Can't we
patiently
make
waiting.
like can't we make like a really cool like Wonder Woman like video game or like
You wouldn't buy it
I
though.
don't know.
You would buy a Wonder Woman game?
Yes, I would. Because she exists to be Wonder Woman. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's like
Don't you
it
think
doesn't matter.
there's unique situations, and I don't know, I couldn't think of any specifically, but don't you think there would be a unique situation where a woman's perspective on something could be an interesting game to play, like a Grand Theft Auto game, where instead of it just being a bunch of macho men, you might have a woman in there, and it changes the way that she's some crime boss or the way people see her, or maybe that's the whole point of the game is nobody ever gives her the time of day, and she still finds a way to rise to the Grand Theft Auto ladder or what, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine. I get what you're saying. I don't know if they're doing it just for the sake of doing it, just to like, hey, look at us, we're edgy. I mean, maybe the story relates more with a woman than a man. I don't know. It's all
Why
hypothetical.
why would you try to sell that to a customer base that's 95% male? Like that's great.
Maybe they're trying to
Publish
change
it
that.
under like tell that story, like sell that to someone else who makes a game that's not Grand Theft Auto 5. Like make that interesting character but don't have it be Grand Theft Auto because you're trying to empower women, but then and of course I'm calling this a critical and or a commercial failure. I'm already putting the death knell on this thing if this turns out to be true, which I hope I'm wrong, but you're making this story about a strong female character and then it doesn't sell and it's a flop and you've done nothing to further anything. You've done nothing. You've just wasted a bunch of money.
That's how I feel about Red Dead Redemption 2. What you just said.
Okay. Okay.
You've done nothing to further the story. You told a tale in the past of characters that don't matter, and in the end, it meant nothing. So next time we argue about Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm going to send you the link to this video at the 57-minute mark, and you're going to be like, oh, okay.
Now, dude, I guess when you say it like that, you're right.
It's just interesting, and I definitely I feel like I'm in the minority as a guy who doesn't care. It doesn't bother me, and I'm definitely in the minority of a guy who, if given the choice, I'll always play the female protagonist. But it will be curious to see as this game comes to fruition. And right now, I mean, really, Rockstar, if they really do owe us another Grand Theft Auto game. I mean, I don't want to say owe us like we're entitled to anything, but the reality is Grand Theft Auto 5, it's time to let it go. Just like Skyrim is time it's time to let it go. Like the world has changed, the way matchmaking has changed, lobbies, gameplay mechanics, performance, graphical engine, shader engine, sound engine, the list goes on. Like we're ready for the future.
Yeah.
So I suspect we will see a new Grand Theft Auto game in the next year or two. It'll be really interesting to see what the sales pitch is if they do take a female route because I suspect a majority of people will be in your camp and I'm suspecting as smart as those guys are, they're probably already coming up with a defense to that. So it'll be curious to see how that evolves. But this is the first time I've actually seen it written down where a lot of people are starting to say, yeah, I've heard that as well. I don't know where these rumors come from, but it's definitely making the rounds.
So if Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out
Mm-hmm.
and it's a female protagonist, you're going to be just as excited as you were for Grand Theft Auto 5 or 4?
Me personally, probably more excited, honestly, because it's a woman. I did not, the last Grand Theft Auto game I beat was 3. I did not beat 4. I did not beat 5. After about a quarter of the way through the story, I just checked out. I didn't care. I dorked around the multiplayer and I moved on. I painfully beat Red Dead after the third try of playing through it, and I just wanted it to end. I did no side missions. I just blew through the story, and I hated it. So Rockstar and me just don't really jive, honestly. But again, that's just my thing. We played online. It was fun until it wasn't. But that's why I say I think there's a lot of mechanics that could make the game more fun. Maybe if matchmaking was better. Maybe if the servers were more stable. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do. But yeah, I'd be interested in it. I mean, I don't have an objection to playing. Like I said, Assassin's Creed came out immediately. I picked a woman, and I was like, oh, I'm okay with this.
Okay.
It's funny because when you play, and you've gotten this part, and then we'll wrap up. In Assassin's Creed, when you start the game, you're playing as little Eivor, but you haven't chosen a gender yet, and they constantly refer to you as Eivor. There's no pronouns. It's like, this is Eivor, my child. Eivor, come here, my child. Like, it's very like, there's no like, this is Eivor's drink, not like this is his drink, or like it was so funny the way they wrote that. Like, they're really trying to be careful about not like giving away if it's because and the character model is a little kid. It's hard to tell anyway, but it's kind of funny that like they really like tried to play it down the center, but it ended up coming off really bad. It's really corny. Like, nobody talks like a robot. Like,
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
so. All right, man. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens with all of these announcements. I mean, maybe they'll come to fruition. Maybe by next week we'll have news on the Switch 2. Maybe GTA 6 will want to announce something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But with that, sir, it's the end of the show, and you know what that means.
What does it mean? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And much like Jim never doesn't look like shit on these shows, or changes. We'll see you next time. Jim's red, everyone.